in, and he hasn't been out of the side since.
That's it. You know, you do, Andrew. You need a bit of luck, and just the cards fell well for him on that occasion.
There's the first runs of the day, and it's going to be a boundary. We saw a lot of this from Munsey yesterday, but not particularly in that region. He's opened up the offside, beats the dive, back. See, Rob Castle, the Irish bowling coach, really has these Irish bowlers well drilled as to what they are supposed to be doing.
I would imagine that these guys have talked this through and through and through. They have got a plan and got a plan for every ball. It's not just you need a plan for the over. You need a plan for every ball, and you got to stick to the plan and back yourself. Whether it's a full ball, short of a length, slower ball, whatever. You got to have a plan for every ball, and the captain needs to know what your plan is. That's the other thing that needs to happen. Your skipper needs to know, and Gary Wilson, he's behind the stumps there, so he will know exactly what's going on. And very experienced campaigner now, Gary. So I'm sure everything, all bases are covered at the minute. It's a great start for Ireland so far.
Kyle Coates's first delivery. The dot, you can see Coates a little bit early in his innings. He tends to force the ball off the front foot. He got caught doing that a little bit during his innings, but when he got in, my lord, some of the striking we saw from him, 1-6 in particular, went over not just the boundary here, but the retaining fence up into the Malahide Demesne. It was outstanding.
That's why I parked my car well away from the ground today, Andrew, because I seen what was going on yesterday, and I said I'll keep my car well out of the way here.
Down the leg side, that will be signalled wide by Rizwan Akram from the Netherlands. The three-man umpiring team here this week. Alan Neal from the north of Ireland, Rizwan Akram from the Netherlands, and the third umpire today is David McLean from Scotland. And just one little bit of news to bring you. George Dockrell, who's left out of the starting 11 today, is actually on the field at short third man. I think he's come on for David Delaney, maybe just getting a bit of strapping or something on his T20 international debut.
another dot ball, Andrew. This is a great start from Ireland, and fielding look very energetic in the field. This is a young Irish side, and this game, this format, you need to be good in the field. It's a young man's game now, and so it's also a power game. So you gotta be a brilliant fielder.
Nicely driven. We saw those being hit yesterday. It's really just Fred Klassen, the tall left armer, that did really well to hit them in his final over.
Yeah.
He actually bowled 6 in a row at one point, but he also bowled 2 no balls with his back foot problems coming around the wicket. Yeah. Wasn't a day that Dutch bowlers will be wanting to remember, Garfield. Powerfully hit down the ground. Big Boyd Rankin at mid-on, gets down well.
That's a good stop from Boyd Rankin. Again, Boyd, good man in the field as well. Nothing much will get past his long arms.
End of the second over. It's 13 for none. So, given the fireworks of yesterday, perhaps a bit of a slow start from Scotland, but in the context of a normal T20I, 13 for none, not a bad start. But we're going to see Mark Adair continuing. One of the things I feel might have been frustrating for some of the Dutch fans yesterday, there was a lot of bowling changes. I think they had 17 or 18 in the course of 20 overs. They're going to keep Mark Adair on here now with the new ball.
Well, this is a key part of the game, Andrew, these first 6 overs, because this power play, you're only allowed 2 fielders out, as everyone knows now in this format. So you need your experienced bowlers who know what they're doing to bowl these 6 overs. So invariably, it's your better bowlers are asked to bowl these awkward overs. So far, so good. It's just over 6 runs and over. That's a perfect start.
Hit down the ground. That's a glorious shot from Kyle Coetzer. Hasn't tried to overhit it. Straight down the ground, a couple of bounces and into the boundary boards for 4.
Yeah, just a wee bit fuller there from Mark Adair, and he's paid the price. He's able to swing his arms, but listen, that's a great shot straight back over the bowler's head. There's never any fielders back over the bowler's head. 4 runs, lovely shot.
Adair guilty of being a little bit too full. Really right in the slot for Kyle Coetzer. Hit powerfully into the offside. There is a fielder out there. Stuart Thompson picks up well. David Delaney is back onto the field. I suspect probably just a little bit of strapping or something from the Irish physio. What's it like making your Irish debut, Garfield? Well, how nervous were you?
Yeah, he maybe had to go to the gents, actually, Andrew. Just the nerves are getting the better of him. But yes, making your debut, it's a big day. And look, we just hope that he'll settle in quickly. And, let's not put too much expectation onto him today, because your first game, it takes you a wee while to settle in the cricket at this level, because it's a step up from, the interprovincial cricket that he's been playing and the club cricket that he's playing. So let's not put too much pressure on him.
Down the leg side again, this left-hand, right-hand combination working for Scotland. And a wide. Talk to me a little bit about the Irish squad, Garfield. Have you ever seen such strength and depth in the game? You think about some of the names that aren't here. Tyrone Kane, Barry McCarthy, Josh Little, who took 4 wickets on this very ground against England. Yeah. They're not even in the squad of 15.
I'm really surprised that Josh Little isn't here, and Barry McCarthy. I seen them a few weeks ago at the Hills, and really impressed. So it's great to see it, and hopefully it'll push these guys on to a very high level, because there's somebody in the wings waiting to take their place.
Glorious shot from George Munsey, showing that he's not all about power, he's also a touch player. Strain onto the pads, but the classic leg glance, and because the man on the leg side boundary is very straight at a deep mid wicket, as soon as it beats David Delaney in the ring, it's always going to be 4 runs.
Well, what Munsey's done there, Andrew, he's gone across his stumps So he has. He's obviously seen the gap there, and he's gone across the stumps, and he's manoeuvred the ball into the gap. Good piece of batting.
Slower ball, and that's punished by Munsey. The tennis ball bounce we saw a little bit in the innings yesterday. It was a slower, short delivery, but too good for a man in Munsey's, too easy for a man in Munsey's form. Hooked away for 4 more.
Listen, it's good thinking from Mark Adair to try and mix it up. Just unfortunately, it didn't work out. A slower ball bouncer is a good ball in this format, but again, it was the direction just wasn't quite right. It was easy for Kyle Coetzee to knock it away for 4.
Yeah, George Munsey, in fact, and of course, as soon as you give him anything on his pads or on the leg side, he just hammers it away. Tighter line this time, tucks up Munsey. 3-4s in the over. This tight start from Ireland starting to get away from them.
Well, again, you know, the wicket, the pitch today, it seems to be exactly the same as yesterday. The ball's coming through lovely. It's absolutely perfect for batting on, and it's a bit of a bowler's graveyard as we seen yesterday. And you know, I don't expect it to be much different today, although I do anticipate that the Irish bowlers will have better plans in place than maybe the Dutch bowlers yesterday.
Yeah, and those plans have just changed slightly because deep mid wicket's coming in and we've got deep cover going out. Fuller hammered into the offside. Stuart Thompson's going to have work to do at cover. He picks up cleanly. The throw comes in, but Munsey's quick between the wickets. Finds a single off the final ball of the over again. Scotland moved to 28 for none after 3.
I think after yesterday's knock, George Munsey's a good counter. He knows how to get the 6. And he fancies some more of it on this pitch. It's going to be, you know, a great battle between these two sides.
Yeah, if you're just joining us for the first time today, this is the GS Holding T20 International Tri-Series between Ireland, Scotland and the Netherlands. Today it's the hosts Ireland against Scotland in Game 3. And we're just going to take a very quick look at the points table if we can, because Ireland versus the Netherlands on Sunday was washed out. So what that means, Garfield, is they got 2 points each. But Scotland, with that incredible win, the record-breaking win over the Dutch yesterday, they got 4 points for their victory. So they've moved to the top of the table.
Yes, at the minute it's advantage Scotland. They got a full game in yesterday. Ireland, this is Ireland's first game. So, yeah, they'll be a wee bit sharper today.
Boyd Rankin into the attack now from the Malahide Castle end. A big, tall man from the northwest. Remarkably, not the tallest man on show this week because he's been outgrown perhaps by Adrian Neil, 6'9", a Scotsman who we saw bowl yesterday, left out of the starting 11 for Scotland today though.
Yes, Boyd Rankin, a very experienced campaigner. I don't expect Boyd to pitch the ball up too much unless it's a Yorker.
That's a glorious shot.
Oh, what a
he
shot.
rocks back, opens the face, uses the pace of Boyd Rankin, and with third man in the circle, it's always going to be 4 here. Incredible batting from George Munsey. What a talent this man is.
That's just a spectacular cricket shot. He's leant back, give himself a wee bit of room, and just clipped it over the top of where the slips would be normally standing, and the short third man for 4. Super piece of batting. Not much the bowler has done wrong there, and but he's got punished nevertheless.
Pulled into the deep. There's protection out there. That's Kevin O'Brien, Ireland's record cap holder. So just be a single, bring Kyle Coetzee back onto strike. You can see why this is such an effective opening partnership for Scotland, not just the left hand, right hand, but the two batsmen, their games complement each other really well.
Well, two very attacking batsmen, experienced batsmen, obviously in good form after yesterday as well. That helps. And Andrew, I agree with you. The right hand, left hand combination really does mix the bowler's head up, and it mixes his lines up. So it's a lot more difficult when you've got a right hand, left hand.
Nicely bowled by Boyd Rankin. That's his natural length. It's a back of a length. It's a very hard length, and it's the one that we saw Alistair Evans and indeed Adrian Neil bowl really effectively for Scotland yesterday.
That's a perfect length for this time of the game. It's hard to get that away, and great piece of bowling by Boyd Rankin. Now, can he follow that up with another dot ball?
Also no width to work with, of course, for Kyle Coetzee. Bowled him. That's absolutely brilliant from Boyd Rankin. He gives it the big celebration straight through the attempted swipe of Kyle Coetzee, and the MBE has got to go for 10.
Yes, he's missed a beautiful piece of bowling. It's coming back at him a wee bit off the pitch, and a great piece of bowling by Boyd Rankin. It's the first one he's actually bowled in his 5 balls so far that would have hit the stumps. And maybe, Kyle Coetzee was expecting another short one to knock away, but he's pitched it up and come back in to the right-hander and knocked the middle stump.
Yeah, really beautifully bowled by Boyd Rankin, showing that there is a little bit of seam movement on this pitch if you get it right. And that one's nipped back in. It's castled straight into middle stump. And Boyd Rankin showing just what a brilliant performer he is for Ireland, even in the T20I format.
Yes, that's a big wicket for Ireland, because the two guys from yesterday had a great long stand, and the rest of the Scottish team didn't get much batting. So maybe they will be a wee bit rusty, and it's great to open up that opening partnership, get with a really good piece of bowling by Boyd Rankin.
Yeah, and it was the double act as well, the short ball to soften up the Scottish captain, and really tucked him up, had him on the hop, follows it up with a good length delivery, which means that it will bring the new man to the crease for Scotland at number 3, Callum McLeod. Such a remarkable 18 months or so that Callum McLeod has had in Scotland colours. And he's going to get underway immediately. He's going to push hard and try and get back for 2, get Munsey back onto strike. He will. He's off the mark with 2 runs. End of the 4th over. Scotland are 35 for 1. Going to see a change in bowling now from the Dublin Road end, as Stuart Thompson will switch ends. He'll replace Mark Adair, who was a little bit costly in his 2nd over. Stuart Thompson will have the challenge of George Munsey to bowl to.
Yes, Gary Wilson, the Irish captain, will have plans in his head. He would have planned this all out before the game started. Certainly these first 5, 6, 7 overs, he would have a good idea who's going to be bowling when and where.
Down the leg side, and it's going to be signalled wide again. I suppose those best laid plans can go awry, though. What sort of plans did the Dutch have yesterday? The
Dutch didn't have any plans yesterday. I think that's what went wrong for them. But they'll learn from that, and you got to remember that Dutch side. There's 4 guys missing from that side, so that's not their best side on the pitch yesterday. So they'll improve.
Powered down the ground. They're the fireworks that we came to expect from George Munsey yesterday. It's going to bounce just inside the rope. Looked like it was going all the way for 6, but a glorious shot for 4.
Lovely shot there. Just a wee bit full again. But George Munsey's given himself a wee bit of room. He's freed his arms. He's realised that there's no fielders back on the boundary straight, and a very good shot for 4 runs.
Short ball. It's come off the glove, and it was nearly half a chance for the captain, Gary Wilson, behind the stumps. He dived like a goalkeeper to his right, but he couldn't lay a glove on it. The end result's going to be a boundary 4.
Yes, again, a good bit of bowling here, and he's banged it in short, taking the batsman by surprise. Gary Wilson almost pushes it round the post in the top corner, but unfortunately, he doesn't get a glove on it, and it's gone for 4.
That would have been a really spectacular catch. Naturally, as a wicket keeper, you're to a left-hander when the bowler's coming over the wicket, you're well outside the off stump. Yeah, good Thompson back on a good length. You can see with Munsey, the follow through that he has when he bats. He was a scratch golfer. He even contemplated going towards golf at one point. There's shades of a driver in it when he powers it down the ground.
Well, that's it. I mean, if you watched him, you watched him yesterday, it was almost like his stance was almost like a baseball setup. He was just standing there with the front leg out of the way, and he was going to hit it wherever the ball tended to be.
Good from Thompson, managing to tuck up Munsey, not allow him to free his arms. And again, you can see that's a plan. They're either going wide outside the off stump or tucking him up and trying to cramp him for room.
Well, at this format, you're looking for width so that you can swing your arms through. And if you can keep him tucked up, and that's difficult to do when he's moving around the crease as well. It's very difficult. You have to keep your eye on him and try and follow him. But it's a difficult thing to do, but a really good comeback there from Stuart Thompson.
Hit into the leg side. That's an outstanding shot. There's two men in the deep on the leg side, but that splits them, and we're going to have the first maximum of the day. We've had to wait until the 5th over, but that's 6 runs.
Again, a lovely shot. He's just timed that beautifully. Didn't try and hit it too hard, and it's just a flick. It's just a flick. It's like a wee wedge. He's just flicked it, and it's gone for 6. Super piece of batting, and nothing much wrong with the ball, really.
127 not out yesterday. George Munsey is looking ominous right now. 34 not out already off just 19 deliveries.
Yeah, it's a fantastic pitch to bat on. So, I mean, whatever Scotland manage, Ireland has a good chance of getting it.
Powered into the deep. There's a man at mid-on. It's Shane Getgate. He takes the catch. The short ball works for Stuart Thompson. Just as we wondered, was Munsey going to go big again? He's got to go for 34.
What a big wicket that is for Ireland. That really opens up the game. Super catch there, right on the edge of the circle, and unorthodox shot, but he was trying to hit it over the fielder, but he got it too low and straight to mid-on, who's fielding on the edge of the circle. Comfortable catch.
Yeah, brave bowling and brave captaincy from Gary Wilson to keep mid-on up in the circle. We often saw long on back, but mid-on stayed up. That was Shane Getgate. There was pressure on that catch, and he took it well.
Good bit of captaincy, because the bowler, he knows his bowler. He's got plans. The bowler's not going to pitch the ball up, so that's why he can bring the mid-on up and the mid-off up and have his fielders square the wicket on the boundary. So good piece of captaincy, good piece of bowling, good catch. Well done, Ireland.
The aggression will continue from Scotland, because it's Michael Lease to the crease, who's known as a big hitter. And at the end of the 5th over, with Scotland 50 for 2, we'll have the first change in the commentary box. I'll pass over to John Kenny, who'll be joined by Alan Lewis.
That's the breakthrough they needed, really. These two plundered the Netherlands attack yesterday, thanks to Andrew and also to Garfield for their contribution in the first 5 overs. 200 they made against the Netherlands yesterday. Might expose a soft underbelly in the Scottish batting. Obviously, Ireland, Alan Lewis will be hoping that's the case.
Well, I think it's been largely good from Ireland here this morning. I suppose the one poor point is the number of wide deliveries that have been bowled, but they'll certainly compensate that for 2 big wickets. Coetzee and now Munsey, and I would agree with Andrew Leonard. Good captaincy from Gary Wilson, making sure mid-on was in the circle. So Gareth Delaney comes in now with his leg spin.
That's the first time we've seen him from the Malahide Road end. Munsey gone in the previous over for 34. Caught Getka, bowled Thompson. Rankin getting the first wicket of fall of Kyle Coetzee, the Scotland captain, for 20. Just avoids the umpire. It's going to be a single to the total. Callum MacLeod and Michael Leask at the crease now. Leask made naught yesterday, out first ball indeed. It's the first time we've seen MacLeod batting. And you gave out a couple of debuts. There was a couple of debuts today, but you gave a cap to Harry Tector.
Yeah, very pleasant. I've known Harry all his life, really, and I've seen his progress over the years at youth level right through to where he is today. And again, quite interestingly, John, there's a real excitement about this team, and you can see a general level of liveliness that we haven't seen in T20 cricket. You and I have covered a lot of T20 cricket around the world with this Irish team, and there's a sprightliness about them, a buzz, which is great to see.
Well, Ireland do this fumble. Should easily walk through for a single market there, letting the ball get past him. But yeah, in terms of the world rankings, Pakistan, England, South Africa, they're 1, 2, 3. Scotland are 12, Ireland are 15. We have the World T20 qualifiers coming up later on in the year, and Ireland really need to improve that rating, because they've really tumbled down the T20 rankings, haven't they?
Well, there's no doubt about that, and again, that's something that's disappointed us. Obviously, we had Dharmasala, we've had a number of these T20s where we've just been off the pace, and I think when you look at Ireland now, that youthful energy, Delaney bowling here, new into the side, Harry Tector, and of course his cousin David Delaney, again emphasising perhaps a wee bit of the family nature. It was quite interesting and intriguing as we get to the end of the over, but I'll come back to that later.
Scotland 53 for 2 at the end of 6. end of the power play. And 53 for 2 at the end of 6. The batsmen out, George Munsey and Kyle Kurtzer, the openers. And again, this rotation of ends continues. Boyd Rankin, who got the wicket of Kyle Kurtzer, the first one to fall for 20, now switching to the Dublin Road end. And a feature of T20 cricket really is this rotation of ends, just to try to vary things up.
Yeah, it's a common theme now. Certainly, you can go in one-over spells throughout a T20 international. And Boyd Rankin, indeed, as you say, John, now coming from the Dublin Road end.
First ball will be a wide.
Again, that probably the only disappointing feature in a power play that largely Ireland will be happier in the sense that they've taken 2 wickets, John. 2 big players for Scotland, but this is another one at the crease now. Callum McLeod, of course, on the back of that fantastic 156 against England last year. Lovely touch player, and that exemplified there by Callum McLeod. Great sweeper of the ball. But just going back to this Irish team, John, obviously it's quite interesting from the point of view. I look around, I've played with and against a number of the fathers of the players, and it emphasises, in a sense, the family nature that drives a lot of what cricket means to people in Ireland. And it's nice to see a very decent sprinkling of people here to support on a beautiful day in Malahide. Who says we can't play cricket in September, John?
It's high in the air, and there's 2 fielders trying to converge to it, but they won't get to it before it drops to the ground. Coming in from the mid-wicket region was Mark Adair, and a little fortuitous there. McLeod with a big skyer.
Well, it's a wee bit of a common theme, actually, again, in T20 cricket, watching a lot of it. They look to try and encourage, if you've got any sort of pace at all, encourage batsmen into cross-batted shots. You can splice it a bit. And, of course, we saw a situation yesterday, one like that, ended in a run-out for O'Dowd from the Netherlands.
And so another one down the leg side. It's just being a little wild. Boyd Rankin, and this is spell from the Dublin Road end. And it's disappointing. Just trying to keep it tight. Got them off like a train yesterday. Scored 16 in their first over. Eventually, the opening pair of Munsey and Kurtzer put on 200. But this is just a little bit of rebuilding now between McLeod and Leask, with the 2 openers departing.
Again, a good cricket shot. David Delaney down there at third man. Good bit of fielding and well in from him. I'm sure he'll be very anxious to get in the game at stump stage soon, and real exciting talent. Bowls a very heavy ball, has had speeds certainly up towards 90 miles an hour on occasions during this difficult summer weather-wise, and he's a real exciting prospect, David, and has been for quite some time. So hopefully he can fulfill that. It's an exciting time, as we know, for fast bowlers. Jofra Archer, the excitement he brought to the summer in England.
Oh,
and that's another wicket.
Beautiful ball. Straight through the gap. And Leask is gone. Didn't last long yesterday. Went out first ball. And now he's gone today for just 2, facing just 5 deliveries. And Ireland get their 3rd wicket, and they're in amongst them now. 56 for 3, 58 for 3.
Didn't look the greatest shot from our angle, that, John. And again, as you say, Michael Leask went yesterday for a first ball duck, and he hasn't added to that tally today. Comprehensively bowled. Always a joy for a fast bowler to see that stump rocketing out of the ground. And Boyd Rankin on target there. So Ireland will be thrilled to look at that wickets column. 3 down now with the score on 58. And good for them. And it brings Richie Berrington to the crease, John, a man who's traumatised Ireland bowling units over the years. Vastly experienced player, Richie Berrington. It's going to be after a little bit of rebuilding, you would think, for Scotland at this stage. And Ireland, outside of these wides, look to be bowling to a particular plan, and overall have done well so far.
Well, that's encouraged Gary Wilson to put a slip in. I think that's Andy Balbirnie that's actually gone into slip for Boyd Rankin. Richie Berrington scored 22 off 16 deliveries against the Netherlands yesterday. 32-year-old, born in Pretoria in South Africa. Yesterday was his 50th T20 international. Closing in on 1,000 runs as well at this level. Up on his toes, just squeezes into the offside and called through for a single. But Ireland in amongst them now. Big wickets though, obviously, and particular Muncy after that spectacular century yesterday.
Absolutely. And again, you know, he's a very skillful player and they'll be delighted, but compliments to the skipper. Mid-on was in, gave the chance of a wicket, didn't go defensive. And again, it's something I've noticed with Aaron Finch's captaincy of Australia in one-day international cricket, always looking to press for a wicket.
Last ball then of that, the 7th over, just rolled off the face of the bat down to third man, and that ends the 7th over, and Scotland 60 for 3.
Yes, indeed. Certainly a lot more interesting today, John. It's clear that Ireland are bowling with some decent plans and doing very well, and it's going to be very interesting to see now David Delaney indeed coming into the attack from the Malahide Castle End, and there'll be a lot of excitement around the ground for David. Again, another cricketer who's excelled at youth level. Very energetic young man, hugely powerful, big strong shoulders on him, and there'll be a lot of excitement, as I say.
David Delaney on debut plays for Leinster Lightning. Left-handed bat but a right-handed bowler. Only 21 years of age. Has played for Munster Reds. Munster Reds are involved in the Interpro Series in Ireland in the T20. He's played for them. And has also played for Ireland A, the Wolves team, just that grade below the senior international team in one-day cricket. So it's a big moment for him, big moment for his family.
Yeah, a huge moment, and of course he replaces his cousin. They are related, Gareth Delaney and David Delaney.
Well, that went through everybody. Just kept extremely low, and his first ball in T20 cricket at this level scoots along the ground. Gary Wilson could do absolutely nothing about that. The batsman didn't know much about it either.
Very unlucky there for David Delaney, skewing off an inside edge there from Callum MacLeod. But that won't worry the skipper, Gary Wilson. Nice start. That little bit of extra pace, of course, that David Delaney brings, as I said earlier. He's brought speed, certainly in the late 80s this year, and has bowled quickly. So hopefully, from an Irish point of view, he can replicate that today.
Yeah, it's my first chance to see him. He looks quick. He certainly tucked up the batsman on that particular occasion, working it into the leg side to add 1 to Scotland's total. What did you make to the Netherlands yesterday? You actually said in commentary that, like, probably halfway through their bowling, that their heads were down, hands on hips. I know they're missing a lot of players, and a lot of the squad that are here won't actually be in the T20 qualifiers, but they looked a beaten side a long way out, didn't they?
Well, they looked very disjointed, disorganised, lacking enthusiasm. Didn't seem to me to have any bowling plans at all, apart from Klassen in those last few overs where he was able to deliver 10 Yorkers out of 12 deliveries, but they would have been very disappointed with yesterday.
That's well run. Barrington quickly crawled through as he just cushioned that into the offside. And Scotland now on to 66 for 3. We're in the 8th over.
This has been a good start from Delaney. Unlucky to be skewed down his first delivery in international cricket down to fine leg, but he's been on the money since then.
That's a nice shot as well from MacLeod. Just eased it down to Boyd Rankin. A third man just opened the face of the bat and rolled it off the bat. And one more. But yesterday, Muncy and Kurtzer were hitting the Netherlands to all regions of the ground. Overhead conditions yesterday. Netherlands won the toss, decided to bowl themselves, hoping to make use of that conditions today. Clear skies, middle of September, wonderful day here in Malahide for this third match in the GS Holding T20I Tri-Series. Ireland's first game against the Netherlands washed out on Sunday. Scotland with a 58-run victory yesterday over Netherlands. So this is match 3 of the series.
And a great series it is too, and it's nice to see also Gary Wilson, Andrew Balbirnie in at slip, looking to attack, looking to force the wicket, which is a key thing in T20 cricket. They're at a premium, biggest run saver you have.
Oh, that's a nice shot. Nothing Harry Tector could do about that. Bounces into the boundary and the advertising hoardings to end the 8th over. 73 without loss.
So a slightly disappointing end there to David Delaney's over. John just sliced away. Uppercut, really. And but he'll be happy to have got through it. No extra balls. It's a difficult format to establish yourself, but in one way, a nice way to get yourself into international cricket. And who would have thought? Delaney's at either end, eh?
Happy families.
Two completely different skills. Gareth has turned himself, and of course, was always a leg spinner, but he's turned himself into a good one. He's looking to get the ball through quicker now, which, again, in T20 cricket is good. Callum McLeod, a very good player of spin, though, sweeps the ball very, very well.
Gareth Delaney also for Leinster Lightning. He had to take a wicket in T20 internationals. Made his debut at Breedy in July of this year against Zimbabwe. 73-4-3. We're in the 9th over. Big news from Ireland's point of view is the absence of Paul Stirling today. We heard before the match that he had a niggle and just wasn't considered today because of that. And it's just chipped towards the
Oh, that's a super
bowler.
Piece of fielding from Stuart Thompson, John. Not alone might it have been a catch to Gareth Delaney, but a super bit of retrieving from Stuart Thompson. That's the type of energy that has been brought into this Irish setup.
Yeah, great cricket on both counts there. Leading edge, nearly went back to the bowler. And Thompson, not only was it a super piece of fielding, but he also prevented a run. But this time, Scotland run through for a couple.
That's good cricket from Scotland there. An immediate call of 2. They knew the gap was pierced, and Lorcan Tucker and Harry Tector converging. But good cricket that from Scotland.
McLeod's moved nicely on to 19 now of 13 deliveries. And it'll punch down the ground to another one of the debutants, Harry Tector. He's wearing 13. He's not superstitious at all, young Harry.
Well, we won't get into what his thoughts on that were, but we'll discuss that a little bit later on. I think there was a mix-up in communications, John, but that's Harry. He's contrarian at best.
Captain of the Ireland Wolves side, who beat Bangladesh earlier on this year in one of the matches that preceded the tri-series between the West Indies and Bangladesh. It was out in the hills. Scotland 77-3, coming towards the end of the 9th over. Muncy, Kurtzer and Leask back in the dressing room. Oh, and Kevin O'Brien. Oh, that's not great fielding from a man who's usually reliable, coming in from the boundary. Thought half about diving forward to try and take the catch, stepped back, and it went through him at the end of 9, 81-3.
Yeah, Kevin O'Brien, a little bit unlucky there. He was thinking at one stage maybe a catch was on, and then an ugly bounce just in front of him. Couldn't get that frame of his in front of it to prevent it going for 4. So you could clearly see with his throwback the disappointment in terms of allowing that go for 4. Boyd Rankin's doing a merry-go-round here, John. Malahide Road End, Dublin Road End, Malahide Castle End.
Boyd Rankin switching ends once again. Started at the Malahide Castle End, switched to Dublin Road. Now back at Malahide Castle End. Comparison Scotland yesterday in the end of 9 overs. They were 94, but that was without loss. They've lost 3 here. McLeod and Barrington with this rebuilding job for them. That'll be a single.
I think the other feature out here, John, and again, probably it was a misread from the Netherlands. Phil Frost, he's produced some absolute belter batting strips out here in Malahide. There's been a feast of runs which we enjoyed through the Tri-Series earlier in May this year, and no different here. And Scotland indeed had no hesitation in electing bat when they won the toss out with you there earlier today.
Again, worked around the corner by McLeod. Sandwiches have arrived, which is great. Some refreshments mid-afternoon if you're in and around the area and you're watching this on YouTube. Want to pop down, it's free entry. Spread the word. All these games free entry here at Malahide, and the weather set fair for the rest of the week. That's a good shot.
That's a great shot.
Beats Tector at backward point. And nothing Delaney can do just in front of us. Another 4 to Scotland.
The feature there, John, was Barrington got deep in the crease. He set himself early for that type of length. Perhaps gave himself a little bit of room and slashed that away past Tector, who's at quite square at point.
There is Tector picking that up. That's a position that has been filled over the years by William Porterfield, who was an exponent of that position at backward point. He doesn't play T20 cricket anymore for Ireland on the international stage. Still the Test captain, William Porterfield, handed over the baton to Gary Wilson.
He was absolutely superb in that position, John, William Porterfield. I think latter end of captaincy, we see him now at mid-off, mid-on. And, of course, he took that famous catch in Canberra against Zimbabwe.
I was standing right behind him, actually, when that ball was in the air.
Oh, so
and
was
I was looking up at the ball, thinking, oh, somebody's got to catch that. And then I looked down and saw William Porterfield running in from the boundary. I went, he's going to catch that. Definitely. He's an outstanding fielder, William Porterfield. Last ball of the 10th over then. Boyd Rankin comes in and it's whipped around the corner. 1 to the total. End of 10 then. Halfway through, it's 89 for 3. Thanks to Alan Lewis for the moment. He'll be back after the end of the next 5 overs. Garfield Harrison stepping back in again at the midway point of the Scotland innings, having won the toss and deciding to bat. They're 89 for 3. George Munsey out for 34. Kyle Kurtzer went before him. Boyd Rankin for 20. Thompson got the wicket of Munsey, caught by Getka in the deep. And Michael Leask is the other batsman out. Callum McLeod is there on 25, not out after 17 overs. And Richie Barrington has made 11. And David Delaney will be bowling from the Dublin Road end. Garfield.
John, yes, I think Scotland will be reasonably happy with their position. You know, it's 90 runs, 91 runs off 10 overs. It's a pretty good start, but it's a good pitch, fast outfield. Ireland won't be too disappointed because, you know, so far they haven't done an awful lot wrong and their bowling has worked to the plan so far. A couple of wides that we probably could have done without, but other than that, there hasn't been a lot wrong with our bowling.
At this stage yesterday, the Netherlands were working through pretty much every player they had. I thought at one stage they were going to take Wallace and take the gloves off and have a bowl. They tried every combination, didn't work. That's one's punched down the ground and it's going to go past the fielder. Shane Getka, and that rolls all the way to the fence for 4. Nice shot, Richie Barrington.
Lovely shot from Barrington there, just maybe a slightly full from David Delaney. Just needs to pull his length back a wee bit from there. He's able to free his arms and get through the ball, but a lovely shot straight to the boundary.
Singles to be had if you just drop it short, because most of the Irish players now standing on the edge of the ring, or the inner circle, I should say.
Yeah, that's a better length there from David Delaney, that particular delivery, and it's great to see the young lad bowling here, because if you watch him on his delivery stride, he's like a javelin thrower. He's got a front leg that's braced, and he comes right over the top of that front leg, just the same as the javelin thrower does, and that's where he's able to generate the speed.
That's a good call from Berrington. McLeod didn't know where that ball had gone. Berrington certainly did. Dropped it straight in front of the Scottish batsman, but Berrington quickly through.
Great energy in the field here from Ireland, and it's lovely to see it. Even though that was probably a comfortable run, they're still pushing the Scottish batsmen. They're trying to give him the hurry up.
Well, Scotland scored 252 yesterday. It was an enormous total, the highest score in the T20 International in Ireland, and this one crashed to the fence for 4. Nothing Lorcan Tucker can do about that. One bounce 4, and the century up for Scotland.
Yes, beautiful shot here again. David Delaney just dropping it a wee bit shorter than probably he needed to. It's just he's finding it difficult just to find the right length. That one there just a wee bit short, but still very encouraging signs for Irish cricket, with David Delaney coming in there and bowling at a very brisk rate. Problem is that if the batsman gets a bat on it, it disappears off the bat at a brisk rate as well. These bats these days, they're like trampolines.
That's in the air. Is there somebody beneath that? Yes, there is, and it's well taken too. Coming in for the boundary, Gareth Delaney dives full length, and the first wicket for David Delaney, the 21-year-old, and celebration time for the Delaney family working in combo, and Scotland lose their 4th wicket.
Great catch there, and a great piece of bowling from David Delaney. Absolutely delighted there. He's got his first international wicket. Thoroughly well deserved, and really, he will bounce on from this. This will give him a lot of confidence, and that's a great couple of overs there that he's bowled. Okay, he's gone for 23, but really encouraging signs there from Ireland, and now, we're into the Scotland middle order.
Ollie Hares is the new batsman for Scotland. Actually made his way to the crease yesterday, but didn't face a ball in the win over the Netherlands. So while Ireland have given away runs, bonus from their point of view is they've been taking wickets and taking wickets steadily, and also the most important thing is getting rid of those 2 openers who had battered the Dutch attack yesterday in Muncy and Coetzer.
It's a very strong batting lineup the Scots have, and a lot of experience there, and getting rid of the 2 openers there reasonably cheaply at the beginning will certainly help Ireland. Now they have to try and consolidate, put the squeeze on, and see if we can keep them down to sort of singles and try and eliminate the boundaries, which is going to be difficult on a very flat pitch on an absolutely lightning outfield. Have to say, John, this ground here looks like a county ground. It now has got that look about it over in England. If you played one of the top county grounds there, for instance, Somerset, this is very similar to that now.
Ollie Hares is the one player from both sides. In fact, in all the 3 squads, he doesn't have a number on his back. And immediately off the mark, the 28-year-old, born in Redhill in Surrey.
Yes, and we've got the right hand, left hand combination in again here. So again, there's a wee bit of added difficulty for the bowler to get his line right. Puts him under a wee bit more pressure. And I'm sure we'll see maybe the odd sweep shot here from Callum McLeod. Certainly seems to be his favourite shot. He'll be looking at eyeing up that boundary on the leg side.
And with Berrington now back at the pavilion, McLeod's the one that Ireland would like to get. Gareth Delaney bowling. It's nicely cut away, but there's a sweeper behind in Lorcan Tucker, so just the 1 to the total. If you didn't hear, Paul Sterling not playing today, which is a disappointment, I suppose, for the crowd that'll be here, and those of you watching us. Very exciting. Ireland's top batsman in ODI and T20 cricket. He's got a little niggle, the Middlesex man. And big news as well from Ireland's point of view is the fact that He is leaving Middlesex at the end of the 2019 season and has signed a full-time contract with Cricket Ireland. There were suggestions down the years that he would stay with Middlesex. Things have changed, obviously, in the English county side systems in regard to overseas players. But the fact that a player like Paul Sterling has actually made the commitment to Cricket Ireland and is going to come home and play in the Interprovincial Series and be full-time contracted to Cricket Ireland is a huge boost to cricket here.
Yes, it's one of the best pieces of news this summer, as Paul Sterling's committed to Ireland, and that's what we want. Oh, what a great shot.
We haven't had many maximums in this particular Scottish innings, but there's the second one today, and it is beautifully thumped away by Hares, and he moves quickly on to 8 after just 3 deliveries. We saw yesterday Muncie thumping it to all parts of the ground, and that's a fine maximum from Ollie Hares.
Yeah, that's the slug sweep, front leg down, the pitch, wee bit of width on the offside, which enables him to free his arms, and he's got that right out of the middle of the bat, and that's a big 6 and a big ground.
10 runs so far off this over. Make that 11 as the final ball of the 12th is delivered, and Scotland move on to Nelson at the end of 12, 111 for 4. Eight overs to go. McLeod on 29. And Harris has just joined them, but he's clubbed a big 6 in the last over to move to 9 quite quickly. Muncie, Kurtzer, Leask and Berrington all back in the pavilion as Ireland got amongst the Scottish top order batsmen. 252 is what they scored yesterday against the Netherlands. I don't think they got anywhere close to that, but Ireland will be hoping just to get rid of McLeod and then get into the lower order of Scotland over the next couple of overs.
Yeah, the Scottish batsmen will have a figure in mind as to what's, a power score here today, and they'll be looking towards that now. I would imagine that it'll be sort of 200, 210 in and around that. And, I would suggest that, on this pitch and the conditions today, the outfield's so quick that, sort of 180, 190, 200 is in and around a power score. So anything in and around that, I would imagine Ireland will be reasonably happy with.
David Delaney to continue then from the Dublin Road end. Ollie Harris is facing. Slip long gone. That's up in the air, and Harry Tector's underneath it, but it's just going to go up and over his head. He'd come in from the boundary, walked in. They run through for 2, but that was a bit of a false shot, and Scotland got away with that one.
That was the old forearm smash that you normally see in Wimbledon. It's amazing the sort of shots that the guys can play these days, and he's hit that over the top of mid-off on a forearm smash, out of the screws as well, right out in the middle of the bat. But luckily, he only cost 2 runs, so good piece of bowling from David Delaney, not giving him any real width.
There's a man out there.
Yeah, nice piece of bowling. No width there on offer. It's hard for them then to make room to get it away to the boundary. But that's a great piece of bowling from David, and a great length that he's bowling, and not giving the batters here any width. Difficult for the right hand, left hand combination. Now he has to readjust his line again to the right hander.
Yeah, they've pushed Markadere out of the fence at the cover boundary. And claiming for caught behind, a loud appeal from Gary Wilson.
Yeah, big confident shout there from Gary Wilson and David Delaney, but the
might have saved a run too, because that looked like a wide.
Umpire Alan Neal was not amused, but a bit strange that he didn't give it a wide. Might have flicked the pad on the way through, which is maybe what the noise that they heard. But it's a dot ball, so Ireland will be happy with that.
That's a lovely stroke. It just punched that down the ground. The classic stroke really would be get to the pitch of the ball, but he just clubbed it.
Well, he's just cleared the front leg here and just swung through the line of the ball and got it right out of the middle. Incredible shot. It's gone to the boundary like a rocket. Great piece of batting there by Callum McLeod. Very, very talented cricketer.
Yeah, McLeod's the danger man. The 30-year-old made his T20 debut back in 2009 against New Zealand, ex Warwickshire and Durham, and Derbyshire.
Yeah, great comeback. Almost a Yorker there from David Delaney, and I've never seen any batsman, John, ever hit a Yorker for 6. So, you know, it's a great defensive ball if you can bowl it, and these guys are practicing these balls every day now, and certainly you'll see a lot more of that towards the end of this innings.
David Delaney on debut today, along with Harry Tector, has taken a wicket. His cousin Gareth taking the catch of Richie Berrington when he was on 20. That's a better ball.
Almost a run out there. David's almost deflected that onto the stumps.
I think that may have been his intention, either try to catch it or deflect it onto the stumps. We can see it here.
Yeah, it's hit hard, mind you. And he's just flicked his fingers.
I think he was just trying to stop it, yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't, from an Ireland point of view, didn't deflect it onto the stumps, and Callum McLeod was very quick to get back into his crease.
13 down now, 7 to go. Scotland 119 for 4. I think Ireland will be happy enough the way things have gone in those opening 13 overs.
I honestly don't think that Ireland will be too disappointed with this so far. It's you know, it hasn't got out of control the way it got out of control yesterday with the Dutch bowlers. Ireland's still in control here, and they'll be looking for a breakthrough now. If they can get Callum McLeod out and get him back in the pavilion, then that'll certainly help their cause.
Well, Ireland have just used the 5 bowlers so far, rotating them from one end to the other. Now a change again. Mark Adair opened the bowling for Ireland from the Dublin Road end, now switching to the Malahide Castle end. Just 2 T20s for him. Best of 4 for 40. He made an impressive 32 when he was batting off 30 in his ODI debut against England. That one is dispatched, and rightfully so, by McLeod. Beautiful square cut for 4.
Yes, a wee bit of width here on offer from Mark Adair, and Callum McLeod takes full advantage and plays a beautiful shot all the way along the ground for 4. Great piece of batting from Callum McLeod, and really a danger man in Ireland, but looking at the scoreboard, and he's 40 off 25 balls.
The one thing about Mark Adair is that it doesn't let him bother him. It's a good stop from Kevin O'Brien. Prevents the ball going for 4, but doesn't seem to let anything bother him. He's a very precocious young man, very talented, comes from a sporting family indeed. His father was a goalkeeper. His brother played rugby at a decent level as well. And now here he is representing Ireland. Mark Adair hasn't taken a wicket so far, not for 26 on his 3rd. Ollie Hares is facing, and as you were saying, Garfield, the left-right combination, just moving the field around. Ireland again with the change in the field. They're going to bring Boyd Rankin up from fine leg to short fine leg. Back into the ring he goes. Slower ball.
Yes, it's good to see the slower ball. The batters need to get them thinking, and slower ball is a very good delivery if you can bowl it as well as Mark Adair can bowl it, and he's come across that bowl like an off cutter, just like an off spin bowler would do, and certainly hasn't come onto the bat with the same speed. But yes, you're saying about Mark Adair, very confident lad, and after such a great summer, you know, such an exciting prospect for Cricket Ireland.
Oh, that's lovely. Just waited on that and just rolled it down past Boyd Rankin for a boundary. That's a beautiful shot.
That's a very clever piece of batting by Callum McLeod. He obviously recognises that the 3rd man is up on the edge of the circle as well as the fine leg, and he's just used the pace of the ball there just to tuck it away with a late cut for 4 runs.
Well, McLeod's on to 43 now. Again, he's done the same shots, and this time, well, the previous ball was left-hand side of Boyd Rankin. This time it was to the right-hand side. 2 very clever boundaries from McLeod. Takes him close to that 50.
Yeah, he's just using the pace of the ball again. Not a really, not a bad ball there, and he's just leant back and just cut it, found the gap perfectly, and it's raced away to the boundary for 4. This really is a fast-scoring ground yesterday and today. So again, whatever score Scotland end up with, I'm sure Ireland will be confident that they can chase it down.
It's been an expensive over so far. 14 off it. And again, just using the pace of the ball. This time, Boyd Rankin is the one to collect.
Yes, and that's 50 for Callum McLeod. A really top innings. He's hit the ball all around the ground. He's been very hard to bowl at, and he's always seems to be able to find the gap. Just a very, very professional operator.
Well, slight discrepancy on the scoreboards, just to tell you. McLeod on our scoreboard here is on 48, and Scotland 134 for 4. The official scoreboard here at the ground has Scotland on 136 for 4, and McLeod has gone to 50. So as far as we're concerned, that is the correct score, and he's too shy.
Ireland not be complaining. It's two runs saved. So if we're right and the scoreboard's wrong, I'm sure there'll be no complaints from the Irish side. But we'll get that clarified as soon as we can now. And so this is the first time today now we're seeing Shane Gatcott, who has become a very good death bowler. John, 6 overs to go. We want to now make it as difficult as possible for the Scottish batters.
Well, he's a big, tall man, Shane Gatcott, and that's a good start.
It's clear, it's clear to see here by the field that he's set that, he's going to bowl nice and full. Shane, he's got all his fielders back, long off, long on, and the third man and the fine leg are up inside the circle, so that sort of tells you, if you're the batter, that he's going to be bowling it reasonably full, and we'll see if he can stem the scoreboard.
And Shane Gatcott plays his inter-pro cricket for the Northern Knights. That's going to be called a wide. Gary Wilson up to the stumps. Gatcott, born in Durban, but he played for underage levels for Ireland, and he's played 8 T20 so far. 6 wickets, best of 2 for 15. Made his debut against Oman in February of this year. And with the changing of the guard in T20 cricket for Ireland, he's certainly one for the future. That's a low full toss. Got away with that. Just a single.
Yes, he's got away with that, but again, he's got the fielders back for that, for that type of shot, and it looks like he's really going to be bowling the ball nice and full here, trying not to give the batters much width either, so that they can cramp their style up, and stop them sort of clearing the ropes anyway.
That's nice delivery. It really is, as you say, bowling very full, Gatcott, and it's just forcing the batsman to think. And with Wilson standing up behind the stumps, not suggesting they may be dancing down the track at him. That's a good start from Gatcott.
Yes, I love this plan. I love Gary Wilson up at the stumps there, putting the batter under a bit more pressure.
That's another wide. Wilson claimed, yes, good ball. Just trying to put the umpire off, perhaps, but Alan Neil was having none of that.
Yes, Alan Neil calls that a wide. He's been very severe on the wides today, and quite rightly so. But you can see Shane Gatcott's plan here. He's bowling it up and full, wide, so that the batters find it very hard to get in under it and clear the ropes.
That's in the air. There's a man underneath it, but this man is Harry Tector, who watches the ball sail over his head for the maximum. Oh, a beautiful shot down the ground that is from Ollie Hares. Takes himself to 20 now. On our scoreboard, McLeod has now reached his 50. That's a fantastic shot, but Harry Tector could do nothing about that except watch it sail over his head.
Oh, that's a great shot. Now, just Shane Gatgett has just gone a wee bit too full there. He's just got his length wrong slightly.
And that's the difficulty, isn't it? If you're bowling it full, once you
He's
do
over.
it, he's actually had one ball, or before that was a full toss, low full toss as well. If you're bowling that kind of full delivery, the slightest error means you overbowl it.
Absolutely, but you know, having said that, it's a great shot to hit a low full toss like that, and to hit it out of the ground over the ropes. That's a great piece of power hitting there.
It's coming towards the end of the Scotland innings, so they're trying to get as many runs as they possibly can, plus towards the 200 mark possibly. And Hares is giving it a good old dig. 21 now off 11, and McLeod passes 50, on his 50, according to our scoreboard, after 31. Scotland 146 for 4, having won the toss this afternoon and deciding to put themselves and back themselves by batting first.
Yes, Ireland will be, you know, trying to keep this score now to in and around 200. If it goes much over that, then that will certainly be advantage Scotland. So it'll be a good time now, John, to take a wicket if you're an Irish supporter.
Psychological barrier, all right. The 200 mark in T20 cricket. It's going over the wicket and well bowled to end the 15th over. McLeod's there on 50 not out. Hares on 21. 146 for 4. Change of commentary for the last 5 overs. Andrew Leonard and Alan Lewis.
Thank you, JK. And yeah, we've seen a really interesting period of play there, because Scotland, perhaps compared to yesterday's fireworks, not quite going the same momentum, Alan, but looking well on course for over 200 here again.
Well, it's interesting. McLeod hasn't really hit the ball with any anger. He's 52 of 32 deliveries. And again, just shows the extent of his touch, his flair. He's a great sweeper of the ball, Callum McLeod, and vast experience, first-class cricket, and an excellent player.
Down the leg side from Thompson, we've seen an awful lot of wides from Ireland this afternoon. They're clearly bowling to plans, but perhaps just not quite executing them as they were hoping.
Well, it's the one aspect, actually, of the play today, Andrew, that has disappointed, the number of wides. And Stuart Thompson pleading with the umpire was clear. It was off the pad of Hares.
9th wide of the innings so far from this Irish attack. 5 overs to go. Parried down the ground by Oliver Hares. Head into the leg side. Lorcan Tucker does the fielding. Just going to be a single. Really interesting story. Oliver Hares, he made 5 appearances in the World Cricket League back in 2010. Hasn't had a Scottish cap since. It's his rebirth as an international.
Has a look at Jesse Ryder about him, Andrew. Oliver Hares.
Not a bad shout, that, yeah.
Thought you'd like that. Always players you look at and you kind of go, gosh, he looks a bit like him. But I just thought, here comes Jesse to the crease.
The way he shapes up, the way he hits the ball, looks very powerful into the leg side. Shades of George Munsey, of course, as well. Powerful left-handed hitters. That's brilliant from Callum McLeod, and David Delaney tried to anticipate it at short fine leg, but he ran to his right. The ball went to his left. The end result is 4 runs.
Well, I've seen players getting down low, but McLeod has taken that from a standing position. As you say, David Delaney's looked to anticipate very, very well, and he's just clipped it wide of him. An extraordinary shot, that, from Callum McLeod. Beautiful piece of inventive batting from him. And there's just new inventions. This T20 game has changed so much over the last couple of years. Just the invention of batsmen now to get the ball to the boundary. Brilliant shot from McLeod.
Slower ball bouncer, pulled into the deep by McLeod. Straight to the man, just going to be a single. Tell me what you think about the slower ball bouncer, Alan.
Well, it's funny. We spoke about it on commentary yesterday. And again, you know, I don't understand myself sometimes what's wrong with the top of off stump, nice and tight. Scotland bowled very tight lines early on yesterday and then got themselves absorbed in this issue of slower ball. But I understand it to a certain extent, but perhaps not with the consistency that they're bowling them.
Right into the block hole, and that's just what you were talking about. Ayres digs it out. They're going to look for two. The throw, not a clean pickup. Not for the first time today, Ireland just a tiny bit ragged in the field.
Well, it's interesting. Generally I've been pretty pleased with it. I've seen just Mark Adair has been off colour today, missing one or two with anticipation in the circle. A misfield there. Struggled a wee bit with the ball, as Mark, who's been a stellar performance since he's made his debut in May against England. And he'll be disappointed with that, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. Powered into the offside, out to Mark Adair again. He's going to have more work to do. Can he cut off the second run? The throw's going to come in. Ayres has to get off the treadmill, and he won't get there in time. He will. That looked incredibly close to me. Gary Wilson whipped the bails off. He's going to get back for the second. I thought he was in trouble.
I think it would be interesting to see that, but I think one of the things is Mark Adair could have got quicker to the ball there, and Oliver Ayres was struggling. Of course, we just can't quite see that from square on, but he certainly did look to be struggling.
End of the 16th over. Moves to 158 for 4 now. We're just going to catch those graphics up at the bottom of your screen. And the reason... Going to see a change in bowling. Going to be Boyd Rankin back into the attack. Just the reason we're getting those graphics updated for you at the bottom of the screen. Little discrepancy between not just the graphics we had, but also the Cricinfo, the Cricket Europe scoring. They all thought that Callum McLeod had hit a 4 down here off David Delaney, but in fact the scorers have it as a 6, and we've looked back on the tape and it did just carry for 6. So McLeod is now correctly moving on to 57, batting very well.
You never miss these lovely snippets of information, Lenny. You're the cricket badger of the century, it has to be said.
Thank you, Alan. Boyd Rankin here from the Dublin Road end. Powered down towards us in the commentary position. It's going to soar all the way for 6. Clears the rope. I thought we were in action for yet another chance in the commentary box, Lou. But that's a sensational shot from Callum McLeod. 6 runs.
Great shot. He just got inside that and helped it on its way, really. I don't know whether it's these bats, Andrew, or whatnot, but it just seems to be 6s at will, really. And again now, Gareth Delaney being posted out onto the deep mid-wicket boundary. So, 4 inside the circle on the offside third man. Now going back with extra cover coming in. That will be inviting for McLeod.
Well bowled, good comeback. You can see McLeod looking to play almost a sort of a chop down. He was giving himself room outside the leg stump. What's he looking to do there? Stand there and hit it.
Well, he's
Alan.
doing a lot of chopping today, is Callum McLeod. But that's good bowling from Boyd Rankin, following him, getting inside the leg stump. That's good bowling from Boyd Rankin. And that's equally good bowling, getting that ball full. And it was one feature yesterday. Freddie Klassen in his second spell bowled 10 Yorkers out of 12 deliveries. He only went for 7 in those 2 overs. And again, it was probably the only time yesterday we saw any sort of planning from the Dutch team in terms of their bowling. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's one area that generally you're going to be hit, and that's down the ground. And that's clever from Boyd Rankin.
A little over 3 overs to go now. 21 deliveries remain in the innings, and you have to think that Scotland are not just going to be targeting over 200. Can they get up to 210, 220? Ollie Ayres showing why he's been brought back into the squad.
Isn't it funny, though, Andrew, as well? It makes every ball important. You know, Ireland will be looking perhaps 3 overs to go. If they can restrict them to between 25 and 30, they'll feel it's a job well done.
Powered down the ground, but straight to mid-off. That's Harry Tector, who fields well. No time for a single there, right on the edge of the circle, as you often see in the ladder overs of a T20I.
It's very rare one would see Harry Tector at mid-off. Very good square of the wicket on the offside and indeed on the leg side. Fantastic fielder, Harry Tector. Hits the stumps with regularity at the bowler's end when called into action.
Pulled into the deep. There's a man at deep mid-wicket and it's going to go straight to him. Boyd Rankin has his hands in the sky. That's a very good catch. He almost overran it. I think it's Shane Getgate out there.
It is Shane
really good
Getgate.
hands.
Very good catch. It's quite interesting square of the wicket here, and you could see there from Shane Getgate, just to judge the angle, he had to move at the last minute to collect that, and it's a good piece of work and a useful innings from Hares. Big striker of the ball, big man, left-hander, and that's a good wicket for Ireland, but Callum McLeod is still there, 64 not out from 37. Played beautifully here today, Andrew.
Yeah, he's been superb, a class act. The Kane Williamson of this Scottish batting lineup, without doubt. Matthew Cross going to be the new batsman to the crease, coming in at number 7. He was left out yesterday, a little bit surprisingly. Craig Wallace had the gloves, but that has been rotated. We talk about rotation these days in international
it's a bit like
cricket.
Paul Sterling with a niggle. What's a niggle, Lenny? Have you any? What is a niggle?
I'm not sure whether it's rotation in the Irish case or if he does have a niggle, but the big crowd that's starting to gather now in Malahide, they would have been looking forward to see the Forks. A big question for me, Alan, who's going to open the batting with Kevin O'Brien?
Well, that will be interesting. I think it's probably between Stuart Thompson and Gareth Delaney, I would imagine, but I would sense probably the left-hander, right-hander combination. Stuart Thompson might go to the top of the order.
Nicely worked off his legs by Callum McLeod. He was happy with the single there because it's the final ball of the over. The batsman having crossed. He'll keep the strike. 17 overs gone. Scotland 166 for 5. Let's take a quick look at the bowling figures so far and see what options Gary Wilson has for these final 3 overs.
Well, I think if you look at it, probably the one off colour was Mark Adair. His 3 overs going for 36. Gareth Delaney, very good. There's 3 overs for 23. David Delaney on debut. His figures probably don't do him that little bit of justice, and he'll be happy to have got through that element of work. And Boyd Rankin doing extremely well, 3 for 29, the pick of the bowlers.
How pleasing for David Delaney as well. A maiden international wicket for him. And of course, caught by his cousin, Gareth Delaney. So nice family connection.
Who said Irish cricket isn't a family affair? It certainly was on that occasion. Gareth Delaney taking a good catch, and interesting too that Gareth Delaney's back in the attack. Lenny, a leg spinner, of course. You're applying that trade all your career. You tell me about it at regular points and intervals. You must be pleased.
Yeah, and I think it's a big departure from Gareth Delaney's traditional leg breaks. He's been working an awful lot with Rob Castle, the Irish bowling coach, to bowl quicker and flatter and not allow any elevation. And you see Jacob Mulder, who's unfortunately come out of this squad with a little bit of a back injury, but he's wanting them to kind of follow the Rashid Khan template. Bowl quick and flat, don't allow any elevation. He's bowled nicely so far today. Pulled into the deep, really powerfully struck by Callum McLeod. How quickly did he seize upon the length? And despite the best efforts of Andy Balbirnie, that's going to be another boundary 4.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good ball there. Start off from Gareth Delaney, short. But the interesting thing from Callum McLeod's point of view was his placement. Often it is disregarded, but you could clearly see the area of the ground. He was looking to pierce those 2 fielders deep on the leg side. Fantastic batting again from him.
Flat again, pulled into the deep. They're going to obviously push for 2 here. Can Callum McLeod get back? He can't. Really good pace to the ball. I think that's Harry Tector. You get your key positions, your key fielders into the key positions. Good example of it there, Harry Tector.
Absolutely. Harry is an outstanding fielder and puts huge amount of effort and work into it. And it's a great addition to this Ireland T20 setup in terms of these younger players who've come into the squad.
2 new caps today for the first time for Ireland. David Delaney, the tearaway quick, and Harry Tector, the fielder there. That's a brilliant catch. Absolutely outstanding from Gareth Delaney. He turns to the umpire. He says it's carried to him. He's come forward. He's held it cleanly. Got his 2 hands underneath the ball. And good to see from Matthew Cross. He trusts the bowler. That's out. Brilliant bowling.
Fantastic bowling. He got his length right there, you see. Andrew, and a great catch coming forward of his own bowling. Never easy that to judge ones that are hit straight back to you like that, but a great piece of work from him. And again now, you know, you were talking about Scotland, Andrew, 200, 210, 2 quick wickets, change a few things, and really what will decide whether that is or it isn't is, of course, the performance of Callum McLeod. 70 from 40 now.
Safian Sharif's going to be in at number 8 for Scotland, and I was just talking about the 2 Irish debutants, not just T20I debutants, but their first ever games for the full side. And as a tradition in a lot of international cricket now, you see them get handed their caps, and a nice tradition. Former internationals are doing so. So we had the great Andrew Pointer from Clontarf give David Delaney his cap, and a certain D.A. Lewis to my left, you got to do it for Harry Tector.
Well,
Talk to us about that.
Gary Wilson approached me on Sunday. It looks likely. He said that Harry will make his debut, and of course, having known him since he was a boy, nothing gave me greater pleasure. It was an honour to do it, and he's had a stellar career for himself so far, and this elevation, I think, is going to be the mark of things to come, because he's excelled at all levels. And of course, you know, the fate that the senior squad have put in him captaining at such a young age, which he's done most of his career, and of course into the Wolves team,
yep,
that beat a very strong Bangladesh team this year, and Zimbabwe. So the elevation has been gradual and just at the right time, and I think he will have a fantastic career for Ireland.
Sharif gets off the mark with a little bit of fortune and inside edge for a single. Does get McLeod back onto strike. Just 2 balls left in Gareth Delaney's spell. That's that trademark McLeod sweep. Can he find the gap between the 2 fielders? He can't, but because of a fumble out there at deep square leg, I'm going to get back for 2, and the Irish fielding just a little bit sloppy today.
Well, do you know the interesting thing there, Andrew? It's the speed to the ball. That's the biggest thing you've got to look at. There was Gate was sluggish there getting to the ball. And that's going to be an interesting one here. It could be a chance, and it is, and it's gone. Looks like George Dockrell taking that catch.
Yeah, George Dockrell on as a sub-fielder. Perhaps not the best delivery, but Gareth Delaney's not going to mind too much about that because he's got the big wicket. Callum McLeod getting back for 2, getting onto strike. All he could find was a top edge. It looped simply to the sub-fielder, George Dockrell. What a wicket for him. 72 for McLeod off 42 deliveries. 2 wickets in the over, 2 in the spell. Good reward for a good spell of leg spin bowling.
Well, it's interesting what you were talking about earlier, how quickly this game of T20 can change. Andrew Leonard, of course, in commentary, talking about perhaps Scotland looking at 200, 210. And these quick wickets, an absolute godsend from an Irish perspective, because they are the greatest run restrictor there is, and McLeod gone now. We're into the tail.
Yeah, I think the Scottish lower order, not perhaps known as well as the Irish lower order for its hitting, but Mark Watt's going to come in at number 9. Safian Sharif certainly capable of clearing the ropes, but a really good spell of bowling from Gareth Delaney. 4 overs, 2 for 32. Both those wickets coming in his final over. And good captaincy as well from Gary Wilson, having the bravery to bowl his leg spinner in the 18th over of the match.
Well, the other thing of this captaincy, bringing David Delaney back now in for the tail. And from his point of view, hopefully, and from an Irish point of view, he's licking his lips here. Try and get the ball as full, wicket to wicket as you can for David Delaney. Be a lovely finish.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that Safian Sharif and Mark Watt are going to enjoy this extreme pace of David Delaney. Just onto the legs. Sharif happy with the single. Put Watt onto strike. Yeah, Scotland looked dead set for over 200, but Ireland, can they take the momentum in? Perhaps looking at about 190 now.
Well, you were getting excited, Andrew. You've been around cricket long enough. You always know this game of T20 cricket changes. Quick wickets. As you say, Gareth Delaney taking those quick, but the big one was McLeod, and the tail is now in. So Ireland will be certainly hoping they can restrict here to something around 190.
I wonder, is 190, maybe 200 about par on this good a pitch? We saw the Netherlands, no one really got going, barring Peter Seeler, and they still got up to 194 yesterday. Look for the quick single. George Dockrell, one-handed pick-up, outstanding fielding, but he can't find the direct hit. The direct hit, Mark Watt, was gone for all money.
I tell you what was more outstanding there, Andrew, was the backing up from Gareth Delaney, who came in from backwards square, got himself straight and made a miraculous stop that would certainly have saved possibly one or another 2 runs. Brilliant work from both players.
Yeah, George Dockrell on the field, just trying to see exactly who he's on for at the moment. Might actually be Kevin O'Brien. Short ball pulled straight to long on, where Harry Tector will do the fielding. And this is a problem with losing wickets in your innings. The new men find it difficult to get any real bat on the ball.
Well, certainly 2 and an over, Andrew. There's no doubt about that now. The other side of it, of course, there's no time for hanging around in T20 cricket either, but you don't want the tail in at this stage. You'd certainly want McLeod in at this stage, governing and bossing a lot of the strike. But it hasn't happened, and Ireland have fought back well.
Really good this from David Delaney. I think, as you said, perhaps his figures don't do him justice. Talk about the first delivery bowled in international cricket, the inside edge, gets away for 4. I suppose with the extra pace, you can tend to be that little bit unlucky and just be a bit more expensive.
Well, look, I think it's a great grounding for David Delaney. He's such an exciting prospect. Early 20s, again, had a stellar youth career, and it's lovely to see someone with that bit of pace, hunger, speed, muscular athleticism. And again, good bowling from David Delaney. He'll be delighted with this, and I think it does justice more so to his spell than anything else, this, because he's been a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, I think just proving a little bit too good for Mark Watt right here. Perhaps a top-order batsman might have thought that was a half volley, but just too quick. Watt looking to clear his front leg and hammer the ball down the ground, but no timing at all.
Now, you know what I don't want to see, Andrew, here it is. I don't want to see a slower ball bouncer. I don't want to see anything like that from David Delaney. I want to see it full and straight, and either doing what he's doing or hitting the stumps here.
Does go full and straight, and Mark Watt plays about the most extraordinary shot you'll see, because he comes the whole way across his stumps, manages to scoop it past Gary Wilson behind the wickets and Andy Balbirnie, short fine leg. Talk us through this shot on the replay, Alan.
Well, this is an extraordinary shot. He's just moved around. Fantastically well bowled. You can't argue with that, and you can see the disappointment on David Delaney's face. Don't you worry, David, my friend. Nothing wrong with that. Just a fantastic cricket shot. It was an excellent delivery. It was interesting. I had a conversation with Roland Lefebvre, who was a beautifully controlled bowler in his day, bowled a lot for Somerset at the death. And he said to me a very interesting point. He said, you can bowl a bad ball and it goes for nothing. But you can bowl a good ball and something like that happens. And again, it doesn't make a bad ball any better, but he was just making the point you must have a plan, and that was something the Dutch didn't do yesterday. I'm happy for David Delaney. I know his 4 overs have gone for 40, but he's bowled well here today.
Yeah, 4 overs, 1 for 40 will be what ends up in the book for David Delaney, but perhaps doesn't showcase just how impressive a spell it was. And as you said, the beautiful final delivery that he bowled there ended up being scooped away for 4 by Mark Watt. 6 deliveries remain in the innings, and it's going to be Stuart Thompson who opened the bowling to close out and bowl the final over of the first innings. Safian Sharif hits that one down the ground. Mark Watt's going to run hard and look to try to push for 2. The throw comes in from Harry Tector, but it's very far wide of Gary Wilson, perhaps throwing to the wrong end as well. And somehow Scotland scramble back for 2.
That's good running from Scotland. I would have backed certainly Harry Tector really threw to the wrong end there, and he knows. You can see the disappointment on his face. That had to come back to Stuart Thompson at the bowler's end.
Yeah, and the throw was wide as well of Gary Wilson, so even though Safian Sharif was slow in turning, he was always getting back, and Gary Wilson had to put his body on the line. He's in a bit of pain there. He's just going to need a minute. I think it's caught that area just above the very short wicket-keeping pads that you can see on your screen there. Thudded into his leg. He did save the extra overthrows, but he's in a little bit of pain, the Irish skipper.
Because there are your elbow, Andrew. Desperate places to get hit, and of course,
well bowled by Thompson right into the block hole. Sharif can only dig it out to cover for a single.
we're not allowed to talk about the other area, which isn't good for you or I. But there we are.
4 deliveries remain now. Scotland 184 for 7 on what is simply a glorious day here in North County Dublin. We're in Fingal. It's Malahide Cricket Club, the host of this GS Holding T20 International Series. And we have 4 more days, 3 more days like this after today, we're going to be in for a great week of cricket.
Isn't it nice to see a good smothering of people? There's a nice, healthy crowd around the banks here, which is a lovely feature on Malahide Cricket Club. South African style, those banked places.
Looks for the scoop shot again. He pulls it off. Really good bat in from Mark Watt. Gets it over. Gary Wilson and the short fine leg. That's Gareth Delaney. Fine leg in the circle. That's what the batsmen look to go to now, the ramp shot.
Well, it's its execution again. Fine leg in. It's just so inviting with pace on the ball that they do these things. And it's very difficult for a bowler in these circumstances. Ultimately, we saw in the last over with David Delaney, perfect delivery. Watt getting it away to fine leg, and now that one just bit back of a length, a bit easier for Watt.
Yeah, change in the field. Fine leg has now gone back. Gareth Delaney, third man, come up into the circle. Really good from Stuart Thompson. Finds the block hole. Watt can only dig it out for a crucial dot ball. Going to be a big chase this for Ireland. They're going to need about 10 and over, 9.5 and over perhaps.
It's a good pitch, Andrew. Very fast outfield, difficult ground to defend. And Ireland now with a lot of strikers in their team. So it'll be an interesting run chase, a very interesting game. But these two balls, every ball is important, but these two are very, very important.
And that's fortune for Mark Watt, because third man, David Delaney, who'd come up into the circle because of the scoop shot. It wasn't where Watt intended to hit it. It flies away off the outside edge. Misfortune for Stuart Thompson. It was nearly a wicket, but it did go over the head of David Delaney, and it's going to run away for another boundary 4.
Precious runs these for Scotland at the end of the innings, and this is good work from their tail, it has to be said. Andrew, I wouldn't have betted at the loss of McLeod that they might have got to this point. So 1 ball remaining.
Yeah, the final ball of the first innings, and this is the third match of the series. It's the clash of the Celts, Ireland against Scotland. Host Ireland bowling first after losing the toss. It's just going to be a single to end the innings. Andy Balbirnie's wise enough to not throw that delivery, so just going to be 1, and Scotland will finish with 193 for 7 from their 20 overs. A really entertaining innings of cricket.
Yeah, very entertaining on all parts, I have to say. Scotland with Coetzee and Muncy at the top of the order. Out early, Ireland on top at that particular point, but McLeod's innings was just so much poise, touch, flair, no big power hitting, but his 70 off 40 balls was a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, Sharif and Watt, they're jogging off to get their batting kit taken off, because they're going to need to be bowling. We'll probably see Sharif take the new ball, and that left arm spin of Mark Watt as well. Let's take a look at the batting card. It was an innings that was really built around Callum McLeod at number 3, 72 off 42, but just for a moment, George Munsey threatened to do exactly as he did yesterday, Alan.
He certainly did, and he played with a lot of guile too. His placement was one of the features for me in that power play. But he went for 30, could see it for 10, and as you say, the linchpin of that innings was McLeod, and a lovely cameo at the end by the tail there to bring Scotland to 193.
And spare a thought as well for Oliver Hares coming back into international cricket, 26 off 17, showing some promise, so keep an eye on him over the rest of the week and building up to the T20 World Cup qualifiers. There's the Irish bowling figures. Mark Adair, surprisingly just 3 overs, expensive today, none for 36. He's been a wicket taker throughout the summer, but none for him today. Boyd Rankin the standout, Alan.
Yeah, without a doubt. 3 for 29 from his 4 overs, did a very good job. Perhaps the only disappointment in Ireland's bowling display was the number of wides, extras as we see them there. You'd probably budget for about 5, but overall, it's going to be a very interesting game and a run chase, because this is a very good pitch, Andrew, as we know. Phil Frost, the groundsman, and a lightning outfield. The ball is passing across this outfield. If it's past you, it's 4. So it's going to be a really, really interesting run chase.
Yeah, that's the state of the game as we go to the innings break. Scotland making 193 for 7. Can they extend their lead at the top of the GS Holding T20 International Tri-Series table? We're going to find out, and we'll be back with you in about 10 to 15 minutes' time.